Right, so in this update, they've decided to change 2 towers in the previous update. 2 towers which the community has said that were deserving of a change. So they've nerfed the Mortar and buffed the Necromancer. Now, for some reason, after some people decided that the Necromancer was nerfed, they all decided that the Necromancer was buffed. Yeah, the hive mind of the community is weird for some reason. So once people have decided that the Necromancer was buffed, they decided the Necromancer was buffed. So it went from one day the Necromancer was nerfed to one day the Necromancer was buffed. This community is so weird, I can tell you for that. Right, so for the Mortar, the first thing that's changed is the level 3 cost has actually decreased from 3,500 to 3,250. And actually, the damage has increased from 50 to 60. So, it seems like, on the first face value, level 3 has been buffed. The DPS of the Mortar has therefore actually increased from 16.62 to 19.94. And the cost efficiency of the Mortar has decreased from 3,683.53 to 294.53. Now, this makes this level of the Mortar actually one of the best level cost efficiency wise, which is surprising because it used to be one of the worst cost efficiency wise. So it seems like level 3 Mortar very good now. Again, very surprising because in general it seems like everything other than the other changes are that the level 4 and 5 Mortar seems to have been nerfed, but no changes to level 0 to level 2. So, surprising that level 3 has actually seemingly been buffed. I don't believe there's been any changes to explosion range, level 0 to level 2. So, yeah, kind of surprising. So it does mean that level 3 is actually kind of usable. I mean, it was usable before. It's just that it wasn't that great in comparison to level 4. But it does now mean that, yeah, it's kind of okay. I wouldn't say it's, like, good in comparison to level 4, because level 4 is, like, cluster bomb, and it still covers, like, the area of Tokyo. Again, I should probably not mention Japan and bombs, but it's still pretty good. And like 60 damage, that's enough to kill breakers in, say, Pizza Party with the new breaker health in that system, or in that game mode. Still can't see hiddens though. Yeah, there is one downside. So the Mortar hasn't actually been nerfed per se. It's actually slightly been reworked. It's a mini rework. Now, as for the level 4, its upgrade cost has actually increased from 10,000 to 12,000, and its cluster count has decreased from 4 to 3, and that's it. So the damage has remained the same at 60. That's 120, and the cluster bomb damage has remained the same at 40, and the explosion range has remained the same at 5. So, like, it's barely changed, I'll be totally honest with you. Like, yeah, the total cost for this upgrade has increased from 16,125 to 17,875. So that's a total cost increase of about 1,600? No, 1,700. And like, yeah, you're losing 40 damage, but they're from cluster bombs, which, I mean, yeah, cluster bombs are included in the damage, but they're unlikely to hit the enemy. So, for example, it could be that cluster bomb there, which didn't actually hit the Necromancer. So, I mean, yes, we're going to have to include this in the DPS loss, but in reality, it's not actually, it's not really being lost. I mean, yes, like I said, you are losing in total coverage from the area, but let's be real, in the previous update, you were adding a cluster bomb for some reason. So we're just being reverted back to what it was in the previous update, and let's be real, this upgrade was pretty good in the previous update. I don't think people were complaining about, oh wait, I gained a cluster bomb for what, an extra 1 range of explosion. No. So your DPS has decreased from 53.19 to 39.89. This is for cluster DPS specifically, and the cost efficiency of the Mortar has increased from 173.24 to 224. Yeah, it's still actually pretty good. Yeah, it's still nerfed, but pretty good still. I mean, it can still solo this slow boss. So yeah, pretty good still. Finally, for level 5, the total cost has sorry, not the total cost, the upgrade cost has increased from 22,500 to 25,000, the cluster damage has actually decreased from 75 to 50, and that's it. The main damage has not changed at all. It remains 200, and the amount of cluster bombs has remained the same at 6. So, like I said, the area that it covers, it could cover the entirety of a certain Asian country that was affected by a little man. No, it wasn't a little man. No, it wasn't a little man. Anyway, the total cost has actually increased. I wouldn't say substantially, but it's increased from 38,625 to 42,875. So that's 4,200 about. So quite substantial. No, I wouldn't, again, I said substantial at the start. It's not that substantial. It's about a 10%-ish increase. Meanwhile, the cluster DPS has decreased from 149.6 to 99.73. So overall, the DPS is 166.22. So that's what the DPS has decreased from like 222 something. So cost efficiency has increased from 178.74 to 232.36, which I'll be honest with you is still pretty good for the Mortar, given that it's an explosion tower that covers a certain Asian country. So yeah, Mortar, even though it's been nerfed, kinda, it's still pretty good. And like as nerfs go, it's a deserved nerf and pretty good still. Right, so meanwhile, the Necromancer, its changes are less significant than the Mortar. So it does have less levels, so you do expect less changes to be made. The only changes that have been made are at level 3 and level 4. So level 0, 1 to 2 apparently have remained unchanged. There may be some shadow changes, like, I don't know, probability change, but it's not been informed in the update log. So at level 3, the damage for the Necromancer has increased from 20 to 30, while the soul meter has actually increased from 320 to 450 to account for the increase in damage. Therefore, the DPS of the Necromancer has increased from 24.75 to 37.13. This assumes that the Necromancer only hits one enemy, so obviously it can hit multiple if you place it correctly, as I have here on Toy Board. So the cost efficiency has changed from 730 to 486.67, which is, assuming that the Necromancer can hit multiple towers, very good, considering that they can also spawn skeletons, as seen here. Not max skeletons, obviously, but still pretty good skeletons. You know, at level 4, its cost has decreased from 48,000 to 44,000, and its damage per beam has increased from 15 to 20. So this means it can recharge its soul meter, which is 1,440, a lot quicker. So overall, its DPS has increased because it can max out its gravestones a lot quicker as well. I mean, yeah, its DPS has also kind of increased as well, from 110.29 to 147.06. So its cost efficiency has changed from 599.06 to 449.27, and it's, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a massive change, but it's decent enough, and it should probably change the naysayers for the Necromancer, saying that it's a slight buff. Yes, it's not completely game-changing nor game-breaking, so anyone with doubts of the Necromancer returning to its former glory, I wouldn't say former glory, let's be real, anyone using the Necromancer before, I doubt there was any regular Necromancer users beforehand. I'll be 100% real with you. Though I think there are more Necromancer regular users now than there were before. And that's because of the efforts of the testers and the balancers of the game. I think that the Necromancer had more usability after its rework, the previous rework. And it astounds me that people had the gall to say that it was nerfed. Like, you're telling me people were using the Necromancer regularly as a meta tower before this update? Nah. So yeah, the Necromancer, it's slightly better. I mean, it's slightly better if you were a regular user of the tower before. Don't think it's going to regularly entice people to use the tower now, but it's better. It's better. And those are all the known changes. I assume there's going to be some shadow changes that the developers haven't told us, given that in the previous update there were 3 changes to the Snowballer, the Elementalist, and the Engineer that didn't tell us. But we will have to see on that, and I'll have to report back on another video for those.